Hi, I'm Christine Benz from Morningstar.com. 8 years after their arrival, backdoor Roth IRAs are alive and well. Joining me to discuss the maneuver is IRA expert Ed Slott. He's author of the newly revised Retirement Decisions Guide. Ed, thank you so much for being here.
Great to be back here in Chicago.
We're thrilled to have you in the studio. One topic that comes up a lot with our readers and viewers on Morningstar.com is this idea of the backdoor Roth IRA. Let's talk about who should consider using the backdoor Roth IRA maneuver, and really who doesn't have to consider it.
It's exactly as you say. It's a maneuver. It's a made-up term, backdoor Roth IRA. But here's the situation. It's a way to get money into a Roth IRA when you otherwise wouldn't qualify. Now, just to be clear, there's two ways to get money into a Roth IRA. The big money is in the conversions. You can convert $1 billion, if you had the money.
Right.
And there's no income limits on that. But if you want to put $5,500 in a Roth IRA as a contribution, then we're going to lower the boom. Then we want limits. This is out of control. Nobody knows why. Why do they have limits on such smaller amounts compared to the larger conversions? But that's where we are. So we're not talking about conversions, which are unlimited. Anybody can do those. We're talking about the $5,500 a year Roth IRA contributions, or $6,500 if you're 50 or over. They do have income limits.
Okay.
Nobody knows the reason, but they have limits. So it's not available to higher income taxpayers. The limits are relatively high for most people. But there's a lot of people watching now that are over those limits that would like to make a Roth contribution. So what developed over time has become known as a backdoor Roth, or a workaround. And nobody liked that term, especially we're just finding out now people at IRS never liked those terms. There was a spokesperson that just came out recently and said that was the only problem we had. We just didn't like the name.
Sounded illicit or something like that.
So here's how it works. You start with a traditional IRA. Why? Because unlike a Roth IRA contribution that has income limits,
right,
there are no income limits for who can contribute to a traditional IRA. Now, I'll just stop there because some people will say, no, there are income limits.
Absolutely, right.
That's only for deductibility if you're active in a company plan. But there are no income limits for who can contribute. You just may end up with a non-deductible IRA. That's
okay.
all. So the process starts with a contribution to a non-deductible IRA, for which there are no limits. You can make $1 million a year, and you can contribute the $5,500. And then you convert it to a Roth. Now you're right back where you wanted to be. You have the same $5,500 or $6,500 in a Roth IRA, even though you were over the limits. Now, there was a lot of chatter about this over the years. Say, well, that's illegal. You're getting to a place where the law says you're not allowed to be. People called it a step transaction and other legal things. You don't have to worry about any of that anymore. I'm not even going to get into that. I was never in that camp, by the way. I always thought it was fine. But now, under the new tax law, which this is not in the new tax law, but in the Congressional Conference Report, this backdoor Roth, not mentioned by name, but the actual procedure or the mechanism is mentioned 4 times. 4 times they state explicitly that this is allowable. They say you can make a contribution to a traditional non-deductible IRA and convert it to a Roth. So IRS came out recently and said, well, if Congress says it's okay, we're good with it, we won't challenge it. And that's where the spokesperson who said that said, we really just were uncomfortable. We just didn't like the name.
Interesting. So there had been some advice out there in the past that you referenced that people had a sense, well, if I do this, I should wait between these two transactions. So fund my traditional IRA and then perhaps wait a year even until I do this conversion. Is there reason to wait around between these two transactions in your view?
Not anymore. But I was one of those people, I think right on this program maybe a few years back, I never said wait a year. I always said have it show up. Even today I might do that just for the tracing rules to see where it went. Have it show up, make your contribution to a traditional IRA. So wait till one statement, say a month, so you can see it in the traditional IRA and then convert to a Roth. You don't have to, but if you want to see where it came in, you see it in one account and then another is a clear path. But it's absolutely legal. IRS won't challenge it, but there are cautions to it. Not everybody qualifies. And remember, this whole process starts with a contribution to a non-deductible traditional IRA.
Right.
Now, to make a contribution to a traditional IRA, you have to be eligible. You can't just put money in just because IRS says the backdoor Roth is okay. You still have to qualify, which means you have to have earnings, W-2 income, self-employment income, like you would to make any IRA contribution. Also, you can't be over 70 and a half because currently the tax rules say after 70 and a half, you can no longer make traditional IRA contributions. It's odd because with the Roth, it's opposite. There is no age limit.
Right.
But there's a proposal now floating around Congress saying to eliminate that 70 and a half rule. So we'll see if that happens. But for right now, once you're over 70 and a half, this won't work for you because remember, the process starts with a contribution to a traditional IRA. And if you're not eligible, you can't start the process. Also, you have to be aware, because some people, I've seen even financial advisors say, yeah, this is a great thing. Take your $5,500, put it in a non-deductible traditional IRA, convert it to a Roth, no tax. That's not always the case. In fact, it's not the case for most people, because most people have other IRA balances, including SEP and simple IRAs.
So traditional IRA balances.
Right.
Okay.
So, for example, let's say you want to do this with $5,000. You do a contribution to a non-deductible traditional IRA for $5,000, and you convert it to a Roth. But if your total IRA balance including all your other traditional IRAs, is $100,000, then 95% of that conversion will be taxable. It's called a pro rata rule. You have to take the other funds into account. Now, it's not the end of the world because we're only talking about the tax on a $5,500 contribution or $6,500 contribution. And the other thing is, this money goes in as a Roth conversion, not a contribution. There's a big difference here, but it's only a difference if you're under 59 and a half. With a Roth contribution, when you put that contribution money in, you can withdraw it any time for any reason, tax and penalty free.
The contribution itself.
Right. But not the conversion. The converted funds have to be held 5 years. So if you're and that's only if you're under 59 and a half for the 10% penalty. If you're over 59 and a half, this makes no difference for you. So it's just to keep in mind. And if you're going through the effort of doing this, you're probably going to keep it for the 5 years anyway.
Right.
Why would you go through all this if you needed the money? But you never know.
Right. So you referenced that Congress has looked at kind of harmonizing the rules about Roth and traditional IRAs. Question is, if this loophole is here and seemingly on the up and up, why doesn't Congress just officially bless it by lifting the age limits on Roth IRA or lifting the income limits on Roth IRA contributions?
They should do it. Are you listening? Do they watch Morningstar? I mean, it seems like a no-brainer, especially when conversion money, where all the big money is, there's no income limits. So why are there income limits? Just one of those things that got in the tax code and just never got out. You're absolutely right. Why don't they just get rid of all this and say no more income limits for making Roth IRA contributions? Now, some people say, oh, that's another big break for the wealthy. But you're only talking about a $5,500 contribution or a $6,500 contribution each year. Why should there be income limits?
Okay, Ed. Important topic. I know a lot of our viewers have been really interested in this backdoor Roth thing. So thank you so much for being here.
Thanks. Great to be here.
Thank you. Thanks for watching. I'm Christine Benz for Morningstar.com.